Hello friends, myself Ankit Mishra, a member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Friends, I am happy to be here with you, and it is my constant endeavor to discuss with you my knowledge on different topics of the FEMA. And this time I would like to discuss on foreign direct investment or FDI under FEMA. Friends, as we discussed in our previous session about the overseas direct investment, that in case of ODI, Indian investors make investment in the capital instrument of foreign entities, and there is outflow of fund from India to overseas. However, in case of foreign direct investment or FDI, the process is reverse. Like in case of FDI, foreign investors make investment in the capital instrument of Indian companies or limited liability partnerships, and it involves inflow of funds from overseas to India. Friends, capital instrument here means equity shares, preference shares, share warrants and debentures. So, before going further, it is important for all of us to understand the meaning, understand the difference between foreign portfolio investment and foreign direct investment. Friends, foreign portfolio investment is applicable only in case of listed Indian companies, and it has nothing to do in case of investment in unlisted companies. So, if a listed company receive foreign investment less than 10% of the paid up capital of that company, then it is termed as foreign portfolio investment or FPI. If that investment goes beyond 10% of the paid up capital of the listed company, then it is termed as foreign direct investment or FDI. If suppose if that FDI again goes back below 10%, it will remain FDI itself. Once if become FDI, it always remains FDI. However, if unlisted companies receive any foreign investment, whether it be more than 10% or less than 10% of the paid up capital, it is always termed as FDI, not FPI. So I think we are clear about what is FDI and what is FPI, and we are here to discuss on FDI. Now one more question comes in my mind, that can foreign investors make investment in proprietorship firms or partnership firms in India? The answer to this is no. Only NRIs or OCI, overseas citizen of India, OCI card holder, can invest in the proprietorship concern or partnership firms in India. So friends, to start with, the first step is to check the eligibility of Indian company or LLP to receive the FDI. Regulation 15 of Foreign Exchange Management, transfer or issue of security by a person resident outside India, Regulation 2017, prescribe the activities which are prohibited to receive the FDI. There are 9 activities currently which is prohibited by the FDI, RBI for receiving the FDI. Those activities include lottery business, whether it be government or private, chit funds, gambling and betting including casinos, nidhi companies, trading in transferable development rights, real estate activities. Real estate here again only include buying or selling, trading in real estate. It does not include development of townships, construction of residential or commercial premises, construction of roads, bridges, etc. FDI is also prohibited in manufacturing of cigars, cigarettes, of tobacco or their substitutes. FDI is also prohibited in sectors like atomic energy, railway operations, and lastly, FDI is prohibited in foreign technology corporation in any form, including licensing for franchises. So these 9 activities are currently prohibited by the RBI for receiving the FDI. So if a company is planning to receive the FDI, they need to first check whether their memorandum or object clause of the memorandum of association are having any of these activities or not. If they have any such activity on their object clause, then they need to first amend the object clause of their memorandum, and after that they can proceed further. Okay, so after confirming the eligibility, the next step is to check the sectoral cap for receiving the FDI. Regulation 16 of Foreign Exchange Management, transfer or issue of security by a person resident outside India, Regulation 2017 prescribe the sectoral cap for various activities, and the list is comprehensive in nature, so it is advisable to check the list on case by case basis before planning to receive the FDI. If our total FDI is within the prescribed sectoral cap, then there is this FDI comes under automatic route, and no RBI approval or government approval is required. But if the FDI is above those sectoral cap, then the approval of RBI or government is required. So we need to assure about the sectoral cap also before receiving the FDI. RBI keeps constant monitoring over the sectoral caps, and we need to be updated about the current limits before receiving FDI. So we are now sure about the sectoral cap also. Now the next step is the procedure of receiving the FDI. Friends, foreign direct investment not only required compliance of RBI or FEMA, but it also require compliances of Companies Act 2013, because there is a issue of security, receipt of share application money, allotment of security, issue of shares, etc. So we also need to adhere section 42, 62 and other applicable sections of Companies Act 2013 also, whether it be private placement, preferential allotment, whether it be filing of return with the ROC, issue of share certificate to the investors. Friend, under RBI, the time limit for allotment is 180 days from the receipt of share application money, but under Companies Act 2013 the time limit is only 60 days from the receipt of share application money for allotment of shares. So in a nutshell, the time limit for allotment of securities is 60 days from the receipt of share application money. If company failed to allot the shares within this 60 days, then it has to refund the share application money within 15 days from the expiry of the 60 days. Okay. Now we also needs to understand the valuation guidelines for receiving the FDI. Valuation requirement is also applicable in case of Companies Act also, if we are making private placement or preferential allotment, and the same is applicable in case of FEMA also. So valuation guidelines we can divide into two parts. The part 1 is issue of share by Indian company or transfer of shares from resident to non-resident, resident like me to a non-resident. The first part is issue of shares by Indian company or transfer of shares from resident to non-resident. In this case, share valuation is not more than, in this case the share valuation is not less than because Indian company is issuing share or a resident is transferring its shares to a non-resident, so the money is coming in India. So in this case the share price should not be less than. In case of listed companies, the price worked out as per SEBI guidelines, and in case of unlisted companies, the fair market value which is arrived as per internationally accepted pricing methodology on arm length basis, certified by a chartered accountant or a SEBI registered merchant banker or a practicing cost accountant also. So cost accountants can also do valuation in the case when Indian company is issuing shares or a resident is transferring its shares to non-resident. However, I don't think it is permitted under Companies Act. However, the valuation of share, as we all know that the concept is changed and section 247 is notified. So valuation we also need to check the eligibility under Companies Act also. Okay. Now the part 2 is for valuation is when a non-resident is transferring his share to a resident. When a non-resident is transferring his share to a resident, it involves outflow of fund. So in this case the value of share should not be more than because it involves outflow of fund, so the value of share should not be more than. Similarly, in case of listed company, the value as arrived as per SEBI guidelines, and in case of unlisted companies, the fair value of share arrived as per internationally accepted pricing methodology on arm length basis, certified by chartered accountant or SEBI registered merchant banker, but not cost accountants. Okay. So for receiving FDI, you have to issue shares, you have to receive share application money in a separate bank account, make allotment, and we have to follow the compliances under Companies Act. After that, the FEMA regulation comes into play for reporting of this FDI with RBI. For that, we need to file form FCGPR with the RBI. Friends, before 1st September 2018, the process of reporting FDI with RBI was different. That time, there were two forms for reporting. Form 1 was the advanced reporting format, ARF, and the form ARF needs to be filed within 30 days of receipt of share application money, and form 2 was form FCGPR, and FCGPR was required to be filed within 30 days from the share allotment, and that filing we needs to do with EBIS portal. However, with effect from 1st September 2018, RBI has changed its reporting mechanism. Now they have made a portal with different name, FIRMS, firms, like Foreign Investment Reporting and Management System, specifically for reporting of the FDI. So before reporting, we need to be well conversant with the firm portal. We need to get registered there as a entity, and form ARF is now dispensed with. There is only single form, SMF, single master form for reporting of FDI. First we have to get registered on the portal, and thereafter we need to log in and select the form SMF. All we need to do after the allotment of the securities. So we need to select the form SMF, and thereafter we need again to select the form FCGPR from there, and we need to fill the form. User manual of the firm is available on the portal itself, and it is advisable to go through that user manual before submitting or reporting the form FCGPR. Now, before reporting FDI, it is important for all of us to have the following things ready with us for successful reporting, like name, address, and the constitution of the foreign investor we need to aware of, and we should have a FIRC copy issued from the authorized dealer bank in respect of that FDI, name and address of the AD bank, also pre and post shareholding pattern of the Indian company, valuation certificate from a chartered accountant, valuation certificate, valuation guidelines we already discussed, and a certificate from a company secretary in the practicing company secretary in the prescribed format for the compliances of Companies Act and FEMA regulation for the FDI. So we need these things to be ready with us before reporting FDI. And after we submit the form FCGPR SMF through firm portal, then that form will be processed at authorized dealer bank desk for scrutiny, and we need we should follow up with the AD bank for timely scrutiny and submission within prescribed time with the RBI. If AD bank finds the form complete in all respect, then they will forward it to the RBI desk, and RBI again scrutinize your application, and if they have any objection, then they will send the form for resubmission. Otherwise they will approve your form. Okay, approval of form doesn't mean that RBI have granted all clearance to you for the compliances of FDI. They are giving approval only for that form only. Okay, so I think we are now understand that how to receive the FDI. And before I conclude, I also like to discuss on the requirement of filing of the form FCTRS and the compliances for the transferability of the shares from resident to non-resident or non-resident to resident. In case of this transfer, form FCTRS needs to be filed similarly on the firm's portal through SMF form. However, FCTRS is for transfer of shares. FCTRS needs to be filed only in 4 cases, not in all cases. Okay, so these 4 cases are when a person resident outside India holding capital instrument of Indian company on repatriable basis transfer his shares to another person resident outside India who hold these shares on non-repatriable basis. Person resident outside India holding shares on repatriable basis, transferee is person resident outside India holding shares on non-repatriable basis, and vice versa also, like person resident outside India on non-repatriable basis to person resident outside India to on repatriable basis. if there is transferability of Indian shares from between persons resident outside India, then FCTRS needs to be filed only in case of changeability on repatriable or non-repatriable basis. Repatriable basis means that foreign investors can take the proceeds of those shares to their home country, and non-repatriable funds or proceeds cannot be moved outside India. So if there is changeability of repatriability or non-repatriability, then FCTRS needs to be filed. FCTRS also needs to be filed third cases when a person resident outside India holding capital instrument on repatriable basis to a person resident in India like me. If person resident outside India holding shares on repatriable basis transfer to a Indian resident. And the last one is when a person resident in India like me, if I transfer the shares of Indian company to a person resident outside India who will hold those shares on repatriable basis, then FCTRS needs to be filed. Again, I would like to repeat these 4 points on a simple term. For first two cases, transferor and transferee both are person resident outside India, and there is changeability of repatriable and non-repatriable. FCTRS needs to be filed. Third one is person resident outside India transferring Indian shares to a person resident in India, and that person resident outside India hold those shares on repatriable basis, FCTRS. And fourth one is when an Indian resident transfer shares to person resident outside India on repatriable basis, then FCTRS needs to be filed. Similarly, FCTRS is not required to be filed for transfer of shares of Indian company from a non-resident holding shares on non-repatriable basis to a resident, and vice versa also, like resident are transferring to a non-resident on non-repatriable basis. FCTRS is not required. Similarly, transfer of shares between person resident outside India only on repatriable basis, FCTRS is not required. Third one is, and last one is, transfer of shares by way of gift. FCTRS is not required. Okay. Last, the onus of filing FCTRS is on resident, whether it be transferor or transfer.